Okay, another little teaching about equanimity. This one's quite theoretical. So I can't call this much of an equanimity experiment. But we have been taught a number of times about the 37 harmonies with enlightenment. There's 37 factors, awakening. I think we usually call them the 37 harmonies. And I'll remind us what those are first, because equanimity comes in here. So we have the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the 4 thorough abandonings, the 4 legs of manifestation, which those 2 we don't remember so well. And then we get on to the 5 powers, which we're more familiar with, and the 5 forces. I'll talk about those a little bit. Then there's the 7 branches of enlightenment, or the 7 branches or factors of awakening. And the 7th of those 7 is equanimity. And after that, then you have the Eightfold Path. So all those add up to 37. So in there, these 7 factors of awakening, these are what lead a person to become an arhat. And this is taught, actually these are in both canons, but I'm talking mostly from the Pali Canon today. So that's our little review. So we have the context of where this is coming in. And then we have the 7 factors of awakening. So, but right before them were these 5 powers, and I think they said 5 forces. And these are ones that are things that I think that I know I've talked about before a little bit. I find these to be helpful to think about: faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, and how we have to have faith in something to make effort. And that, I think, has been quite helpful to my mind. When we have really quite developed concentration, there comes a place where then we can really engage with these 5 powers in a really strong way and develop them fully. In fact, a lot of this is happening on the path of accumulation, actually. So it's, although we work at these things now, these are quite far along. And once you have those developed, then you enter into the 7 awakening factors. And these then lead you into the Noble Eightfold Path. So remember, an arhat, a person wishing to become an arhat, their main motivation is renunciation. So that kind of factors in here as they go along. So the 7 factors of awakening, I don't know, I find it quite inspiring to think about these, because even in our own mind we can work with these in the way that we are capable of now. So the first of those is mindfulness, and this helps us to be able to subdue afflictions, because we can be mindful of what we want to be focused on. For someone wishing to become liberated as an arhat, they mainly focus on the Four Noble Truths. So they focus on that without getting distracted to other topics. So that's their mindfulness. And then the second one is discrimination of phenomena. And that's a kind of wisdom, and it helps you to know what to adopt and what to abandon. And then goes on to help you realize selflessness. And then you move from, so we had mindfulness, discrimination of phenomena, joyous effort. This helps to stabilize one's renunciation. And so if you can stabilize that, then you're going to progress much more quickly. Your motivation will be quite strong. And you'll have the energy behind it to keep going. That leads then into rapture, which is what makes the mind continually happy, and this is beneficial to the body and the mind. And I think even in where we are right now in our lives, most of us can see that it's important to keep the mind happy, that we cause ourselves a lot of illnesses and problems of the body and the mind by states that are not happiness. Okay, so we've had mindfulness, discrimination of phenomena, joyous effort, rapture, and then that leads to pliancy. And this removes all the physical and mental discomfort and lack of serviceability of the mind and the body. So then the mind and the body become flexible, blissful, and it's much more capable then of engaging in virtue and concentrating. So that's the next one. The sixth factor is concentration. So now we can abide one-pointedly, or at least developing that. And then you come to the seventh, which is equanimity. And this allows us to adopt what's to be practiced and avoid what's to be abandoned. And it's pretty much its opposite is a mind that's unbalanced and full of afflictions. So you can just see how when your mind is equanimous, it's much easier to adopt and abandon what you wish. And you have all these factors working for you because they're all present at the same time. And so then when they go on from here, to become fully awakened, all these seven factors are present. And then this is laid out in a lot of detail in the sutta from the middle length discourses 118, which is mindfulness of breathing. And some people think that that just talks about the body, but it leads you through all of these, all the way through these the 37 harmonies, with the seven factors of awakening that we've just talked about. And they do it all in relationship to the four establishments of mindfulness. So they take those seven factors that we just spoke of, and then they apply it to the four foundations of mindfulness, how you develop them. And then you get to the place where with these seven factors working so strongly for you that you attain knowledge, true knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, and then liberation. So this wisdom that you're developing there is combined with single-pointed concentration, and you're looking at the four, establishments of mindfulness, looking at the body, looking at feelings, looking at the mind, looking at mind objects or phenomena. And by doing that, investigating these thoroughly, then you become fully awakened. So I kind of like to think about this, even though as they're going through this, they're going through the 5 stages, the 5 paths that we talked about, the path of accumulation and path of preparation and path of seeing, and they lay this out in that sutta of which path you're on. But still, or no, I guess Jeffrey Hopkins laid that out, which path you're on when you're doing these. Still, in our practice, we can see, where I find this helpful is to see it laid out like this and imagine in my mind, well, what would these things feel like, and how is it that an equanimous mind helps me to have, what is it like? What is it like when the mind is settled, when it's free from afflictions? And where does having a joyful mind help with concentration? Where does it help with me abandoning and adopting? Where does it help with dealing just with my mind in my daily world? And so I've always found these reading about these things helpful, even though I'm just, who knows what I'm doing, but still knowing which direction you want to go, that we need to have a body and mind that's very serviceable, flexible. When we see that we're angry or we're not, we're full of attachment or quite dull, the mind really is not anywhere near that. And it helps me to see, oh yeah, I need to work with some factor here, something that's going to help this to be more balanced and have the mind be more broad and expansive. And I need some supports to do that. So understanding that it's important, that if my mind is really unhappy and discontent, I'll never be able to even get it to concentrate. So just with the different things that come into the mind, where do we need to kind of counterbalance them or to antidote them? So just in closing, one of the questions I had for the longest time was, where did I get this thing of these three kinds of equanimity? And there definitely are more than three, but one thing I found that really clarified this point of, I had mentioned the three maybe main types of equanimity are one that relates to the four immeasurables, one that relates to a neutral feeling, and one that relates to this state of concentration in the jhanas, right? And I finally found something that says that these three are definitely not the same thing. In the Pali, the word equanimity is there as the suffix, I guess you would say, or the second word of a hyphenated word. And then in front of it is the kind that is which one of these three it is. And so there's one equanimity that is related to the four immeasurables, and it's not the same as this feeling of equanimity. And both of those are not the same as this equanimity of the fourth jhana. And so what they do is they just take the word, I don't know if I can pronounce this, upakai, something like that, which is equanimity, and they precede it by like Brahma Vihara, which we know is the four Brahma Viharas of the four immeasurables, or they precede it with Vedanta, which is Vedana, which is feeling, or they precede it with Parisuddhi, which is the equanimity of purity, or the one related to the four jhanas. And they definitely make it clear that these are not the same types of equanimity. So that's quite clear. But it also sounds like there's many kinds of equanimity described in the various traditions. So I've found this really helpful to think about and see how difficult it is to have an equanimous mind, but it's something to aspire to. And so may we all develop all types of equanimity so that we can really progress along the path and be of greatest benefit to all beings.